I really wanted to get a chance to talk about this the last time Aiden was here, but it's time to introduce all of you to possibly the first ever demon or cryptid that reared its ugly head using artificial intelligence models. This originated from a Swedish artist, Steph Swanson, who actually back in 2022 wrote a whole Twitter thread about her discovery of this demon in AI who she calls LOAB.
This is just
LOAB.
I'm sorry, but this is just Ozzy Osbourne without makeup on.
I definitely see.
Oh my God, it kind of is, isn't it?
I see the resemblance. So this discovery was made when Steph Swanson put in a negative prompt to one of these AI text to image models that for some reason she doesn't want to disclose which one it was. She put in a negative prompt for Marlon Brando. So essentially she requested the opposite of an image of Marlon Brando. And then she requested the opposite of what it spat out at her. And suddenly images of this AI cryptid or demon LOAB started showing up. She said, I wondered, is that the opposite of the logo in turn going to be a picture of Marlon Brando? I received these off-putting images, all of the same devastated looking older woman with defined triangles of rosacea on her cheeks. And as she continued putting in more and more prompts crossbreeding these images, LOAB continued appearing further and further down the line, even from images that didn't have LOAB in it.
This looks like it's going to be the guy who sings somebody that I used to know.
A little bit, yeah.
Is that where he went?
What really interests me?
Yeah.
What really interests me about the Go Jay? Oh my God! What really interests me is how consistent it is. Is
This
that you don't usually see AI produce results this consistently, even with the same prompts. Like
it says, regardless of how much distortion they added to the prompts to try to remove LOAB, they speculated the latent space region of the AI map that LOAB is located in addition to being near gruesome imagery, must be isolated enough that any combinations with other images could only use LOAB from her area and no related images due to its isolation. And after enough crossbreeding of images and dilution attempts, Swanson was able to eventually generate images without LOAB, but found that crossbreeding those diluted images would also eventually lead to another version of LOAB reappearing in the resulting images. So it's basically a cryptid in the AI world.
Do you believe her story?
Do you think that she's...
I don't know.
Not trustworthy?
It's a great bit of storytelling.
It's a great story.
If it's not true, it's a fantastic bit of storytelling that plays heavily on a lot of the fears that people have of what's going on with the outgrowth of AI
I
technology.
do think AI is demonic. I don't mess with it ever.
it seems like, I will say, I do get some of the like analog horror vibes from it. I don't know if you guys have watched, like, if you're familiar, you'd love it.
What is it?
Analog horror. It's a genre.
Okay.
You'd absolutely love it.
All right, I'm looking it
But
up.
it was in I'd say it started cropping up in the late 2000s on the late aughts on YouTube primarily, and you had things like one of the first ones I saw was Marble Hornets, and that was kind of based off the whole Slender Man thing.
Yeah.
But
So
what
like
it was
creepypasta?
it was kind of like taking creepypastas and found footage and throwing them together.
Is this like the stuff where there's a person in a scary warehouse and they go through different rooms and it looks like they're trapped in there? There's like a whole series of it. I can't remember that person's name.
The back rooms?
The back rooms, maybe.
So the back rooms
yeah.
would be if you were
I have
the
seen
term
that.
analog horror comes from the cameras.
Yeah.
So the idea that you're using either analog or early digital cameras, you're filming everything. It's all found footage style.
Okay.
Or it's at least stylized to look like it's sort of 90s, early 2000s vintage.
That's cool.
So it's a cool genre. There's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of not so great stuff. But like it's bad. There's also some stuff out there.
Marble Hornets?
Marble Hornets is, in my opinion, one of the best.
All right.
And it's kind of characterized by this, like, it's just unsettling. There's rarely jump scares. Sometimes there are, but it relies upon the psychological aspect of horror and getting into your head, and something's not right. You just can't put your finger on what it is, and it's slowly revealed to you throughout the story.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of what I get with this, a new form of analog horror. These AI creations, like, it could easily just be a story that they have a prompt that returns images like this. They adjust it just enough, and it's actually the inverse of what they're saying it is.
Right.
At the same time, It could not be.
It could also be very
Just
true.
create
Yeah.
the images and then write the story around it if you're a gifted enough writer.
Which might have been what happened. Somebody may have gone, "Oh, wait, this AI thing is cool. What if I wrote a story about one that generated itself and was persistent?"
The most gifted, the people who are going to benefit the most from this episode. I showed you the trailer the other day for the movie Subservience that's coming out with Megan Fox, where she plays like a piece of AI that seduces a husband, and then it balloons into this end of the world storytelling that's extremely boring and predictable. But the problem is there are good stories that can be written around this that just haven't made it to to script yet, because Hollywood's only gonna appeal to the most derivative and boring of these types of productions. The best stuff that you're going to see written about this stuff will be these types of things that are done that become internet folklore before they ever make it. Like, eventually there probably will be a movie made by A24 will end up making a stupid movie about this.
About LOAB.
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
Back in like 2006 or so, this term appeared on the internet, Fleshgate, which was, if you look at the terminology, Fleshgate, skin walk.
I want to address a super chat here. Shane H. Wilder says Archive 81 was a great analog horror. That would have been true if it wasn't so damn boring from start to finish.
So you were saying the Fleshgate?
Yeah, so Fleshgate, skin walk, in my opinion, that's where the terminology comes from. But the reason I bring it up is like 20 years ago that hit the internet, and now we're working on a movie about it. Like we have taken that piece of internet folklore and that Hollywood for God knows what reason hasn't touched. Because it's such a cool monster. It's something that can like get inside your head and convince you that it's always been there.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
It gives you fake memories. It appears as a person and then it picks you off one by one.
Sweet.
Really cool monster. Really cool concept. No real, like a little bit of lore behind it, but really not that much. Hollywood won't touch it because it's not a guaranteed sell.
Right.
So it took 20 years, but now you have YouTubers who are making movies. Like Wendigoon just did a movie about Stalker, the Stalker series.
Oh, wow.
We're doing a movie about the Fleshgate, where you've also got one on the like a Wendigo-like creature in the works.
That's awesome.
It's finally getting there,
The
but it had to be
X-Files
at
would have
this
done
point.
this.
Yeah.
If the X-Files had been created today and still had the spirit of the art that was there from the very beginning, where they took real swings and real misses on, like, there's an episode about a chupacabra that's the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I still love it.
Supernatural did it too.
Exactly.
Up through like
So,
2020, Supernatural was willing to touch it.
Supernatural, the X-Files in its early days would have been the shows that weren't anthologies, but they did have episode of the week, monster of the weeks, that would have gone into this territory if it was still around now.
And Supernatural touched it. They have an episode on the Tall Man.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Slender Man. Like
The concept that I find far more compelling just from a storytelling perspective is not AI becoming sentient, but sentient creatures using AI as a vehicle to influence people. And I think if LOAB is an actual story, not just something that Steph Swanson is making up as a creative writing exercise, that could be what's going on here, especially because some of these images are actual jump scare material where LOAB emerges with images of deformed babies and extreme gore, borderline snuff images of dismembered, screaming children. Just some of the most horrible stuff imaginable.
In the Forbes article, the only comment says, "I thought it was Nancy Pelosi."
I kind of see it. I see that one too.
Yep.
Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the next movie
Now
you're
somebody
gonna do.
somebody can write that right now
Yeah.
and put it out there.
So people were just able to take this story and kind of run with it. But, my belief is that if demons are actively working in the world, the internet and new technologies of artificial intelligence have got to be some of their favorite ways to influence people, to deceive people and confuse people and divide them. So I do think that they are actively participating in mass media communications. They are actually mediating beings. Angels were created to, in a very real sense, mediate between God and human beings. So if they are in rebellion against God, they're still going to use the same tools, but for evil. So not only is social media part of that, but artificial intelligence almost certainly is a part of that. It gives them like the perfect plausible deniability for what they're doing.
Just wait till the demons crawl through your Neuralink.
Yeah.
Seriously, like
that's the
how do
culmination of
people
all this.
trust this stuff?
I mean, we're going to be getting into it even more when we talk about the way that false memories have been influenced by the internet.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And the amount of the ease in which you can plant a false memory on someone, especially if they're looking for it now. We've got a whole section here on videos that have been made, faking Disney logos just to sow doubt in your brain. And more of that just kind of speaks to me about the idea that I think that most people have a lot of hubris as to how well their memory actually works, and how conflated you actually get with things. It even came out when the Mr. Beast stuff was coming out, and the kid said, "I don't remember these messages looking like this" in the Discord chat. Right. And then he goes back and he looks at him again, and now he's got actual evidence to that. Now imagine what demons could do with that, using technology.
That's why eyewitnesses aren't always reliable too.
Yeah, it's just funny how like all of these postmodern deconstructionist philosophies, they came about far before the internet, and the internet is actually the culmination of the idea that like knowledge isn't really possible, and that your individual experience of the world is the only real thing. So that's like the ultimate goal, I think, of demons who are active on the internet, is to actually make you think that everything is fake and there's no real solid ground beneath you.
That's
you can never know anything.
Me and Shane,
objectively true or false.
Shane talks about post reality all the time. I say post concern because like at a certain point you don't know what is real, so you just give up. And
like dead internet theory comes into this as well.
I think post concern is a consequence of post reality. Exactly. And both of those operate on the dead internet theory, right? And it accelerates the fractured realities.
If dead internet theory is true, there are demons animating the corpses and operating as zombies on social media who are interacting with us.
Now you're talking. It's a wasteland of dead bots, dead demon bots.
Seriously, though.
And paid bots from corporations and businesses.
Katy Perry bots. You're right.
I think people also massively overestimate the intelligence of the average person.
Yeah. Why is that? Is it because of solipsism?
So you follow me on Twitter. Yep. You've seen what I deal with on a daily basis. All three of you follow me on Twitter. All three of you. All three of you know what I deal with on a daily basis. There are a lot of people out there who, think about, 20 years ago before social media.
Yeah.
In town, you had the guy who everybody knew was an idiot, but it was fine. It was whatever. Right. Now, the internet is a place where every town idiot can gather. And they do. And the problem with them is they're all on the left side of the Dunning-Kruger chart, Right. They're all people who think they're much smarter than they are. And so when you have all of those people out there hyping each other up, you get an internet that is just slop.
Well,
constantly.
Imagine then astroturfing fools. And so then other people who might even be smart.
Can you believe it? They gave me a podcast. That's crazy.
But I've been trying to make the point for a few weeks now. On the right, you have all these people who are like, the Earth is flat and nothing's real, and they're morons. Well, and then on the left, you have all these people.
Well, we'll come back to it, Aiden.
And then on the left, we have all these people who are like, Trump didn't actually get shot at. That's fake.
I know.
Even though all of the evidence is against it, you just basically got two groups of people on both sides, which is proof that it's not one side is dumber than the other. It's that one side is usually less obvious about how stupid their stupid people are.
To bring it back to our episode together, when we did Inverted World, we talked about Alex Jones and all that stuff. I thought it was hilarious to see within minutes of the failed Trump assassination attempt, the left all of a sudden was questioning their own version of Sandy Hook.
Billions of dollars by doing that.
It doesn't matter, if you're on that side of the spectrum.
Yeah, but I agree with the dead internet thing too. Like there's a ton of bots now. You go to any popular post. And it's on Twitter, and it's just at this point, it's just account. You muted this account. You've muted this account. You've muted this account. You've muted this account. Because it's all just like bots run by a farm in India that are constantly pushing content.
Because they're trying to control the way you perceive the narrative. And if they can make it seem like this thing's popular, then a lot of people who aren't that plugged in, like a lot of other people might be, will just believe it.
Well, I also think that people like Matt Wallace, by the way, I'm going to name Matt Wallace specifically, are absolutely,
what do you notice about
absolutely controlled opposition.
I will also add Mario Narfall to that, because I see a lot of reporting from him, I'm putting in quotes. Some of it's fine.
Which side is he?
I have no idea, nor do I care. It's like, for one, the most recent one would be sharing the video of the Supreme Court being wrapped in fence, saying this is what's happening right now, which is 3 years old. Yeah. Right? And he just said that. My other one I talk about a lot, and this can transition to the Mandela effect happening in real time, the Mandela effect, is when the Pawn Star's son died.
Yeah.
And he reported on it. He used a picture of the son from the show, even though it wasn't the son from the show that died.
Gotcha.
Using the picture of the son from the show, knowing that people would be like, "Oh my goodness, that guy died," and then he deletes it. Right, and everyone. So then that Mandela effect is created by everyone thinking that one son died, but it wasn't that son. I can't stand that stuff. And look, I'm not the authority of truth either, but like these people are being promoted on the internet as your breaking news outlets. And promoted by the owner of Twitter.
What I was saying the other day is like, look, it's to a point now where I just don't care anymore. I can't bring myself to care because you have to be consistently terminally online I took 1 week off of Twitter and got two things vastly wrong that would have easily been corrected if I just stayed on Twitter for 5 more minutes. But the problem is my job requires me to do that. And with most stories, I just can't bring myself to care anymore because everybody who reports on anything, especially in the political sphere, is reporting on it from a political bias that's narrated towards a specific side. You can't get away from that. And that's fine. I just can't, that's their job. They're making their money off of it. It's your job as an informed citizen to know that is happening. The problem is I'm checked out. I can't bring myself to care because I think of it's just all so tiresome that I can't do it anymore.
I get it.
So I agree with a lot of what you just said, but also the reason I said specifically that I think like Matt Wallace is like a psyop and controlled opposition is that man makes zero money off of Twitter. Oh. Every single tweet gets community noted. Every single one. He's making nothing off of Twitter.
Because his
and yet all he does all day.
Who's paying this guy?
Exactly. Who would be paying a guy like Matt Wallace to constantly rile up people on the dumb side of the right? And at the same time, who's paying guys like what's the Majid something the Brooklyn Dad Defiant guy?
Yeah.
Who's somebody's paying those guys to rile up the dumb side of the left.
Do you think this is privatized or is it government?
Well, remember back after the 2016 election, it came out that Russia actually had been involved with Facebook, but it wasn't through their funding. They were setting up Facebook groups for both sides.
And what happened?
And agitating.
Do you remember what happened with one of those? They showed up in public.
Yeah.
And they were Russia instigated both sides of the thing happening in real life. They started in the Facebook groups.
Exactly. So I don't even necessarily think it's Russia.
Oh no.
I think it's China doing this.
I think it's us.
It might be us too. But clearly somebody is paying people to say objectively moronic things.
Also
on Twitter.
It could also
post 2012 and the Smith Modernization Act. That could be us.
It could be us. Yeah. It might even be beyond that. I've been thinking a lot about accelerationism, and I think it's accelerationists who don't have any political bias. Their only thing is they want to destroy. And so, like what Russia was doing, they just wanted to destroy. And there's an accelerationist in the country or across the world who just want to like the New Zealand shooter. Remember his manifesto?
Yeah.
He listened to like someone on the right and on the left, and then people on both sides would be like, "See, he was your guy, but he was no one. He's an accelerationist."
And look at this Thomas Matthew Crooks guy.
Exactly.
Suddenly, the FBI comes out. Oh, he hated Jews, and then Gab is like, he also supported Biden.
He was also trans. He donated to Act Blue. Like, it's accelerationist.
It's all over the place.
So those are perfect stories that explain. Like, if you go online and you start looking up information about this, and you wait, like this happens with stories that we cover, right? Like, if you wait 2 days, so much information has come out, and it's so fragmented amongst 10 to 12 different people who create content releasing information that I just give up. I don't care anymore because there's no through line that gives you a strong idea of what the story is unless you parse through page and page and page and page of information. That's fine if it's your job to disseminate the information. If you're the average everyday person, you're just going to check out and say, I don't care. Whether people like it or not, the average person doesn't want to discern information. They want to be told by a guy in a suit what is true.
And it used to be that the way it worked was all the investigative journalists on the ground went and grabbed all the information. They brought it to a writing team who wrote a monologue for a news anchor, and he gave you the story. Now that's, it's so much propaganda that's not even happening.
I would argue it was even biased back then.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at
definitely
old interviews of I forget who they were from, CBS or NBC, going and interview JFK, and you can look at this on YouTube where they're in the Oval Office, I think, talking to JFK, giving him questions. At the end of the question, they're like, "Were you okay with that, Mr. President? Do you want to redo it?" Like giving him that grace and that time. That would never happen today.
Exactly. But what I've noticed today is like you go watch Walter Cronkite, from years ago, and he just gives you the story. It's boring as hell.
Right.
It is a very boring news broadcast. Right. But as news media has become entertainment with Fox and MSNBC and CNN, now they're doing the exact same thing as all the on-the-ground journalists.
Independent media is not immune to that. It's
no, not at all.
Anything that's monetizable is likely to be corrupted by the need for further revenue.
That's why monetizing Twitter was one of the worst things, in my opinion, because it turned every independent journalist into a basement TMZ person.
And now, you got, you go and you watch Fox.
TMZ has more legitimate.
True.
Honestly.
TMZ is getting legitimate.
Right now, we were talking about how they memory hold the assassination. The only place that seems to be consistently talking about it, at least it's TMZ. They're consistently doing updates on all of the information that comes out about it. They've got their biases. They're not big fans of Trump, but they are at least willing to report on this stuff.
Wow.
I think partially news media in general becoming lower quality has also made TMZ look more like it's up to par.
They report a lot of exclusive findings as well.
They get crazy. They got the video of Diddy from 10 years ago that was on a hard drive somewhere, and they somehow got their hands on it.
Just waiting. You could also say maybe they're part of the Mockingbird media.
They got video from inside his house after it was raided as well. Like nobody else has.
It is bizarre.
A lot of these people have less legitimacy than TMZ. Is all I'm trying to say. I will sim for TMZ.
What would you rather have? Is a capitalist who is willing to report on all sides of the aisle as long as it makes them money, or somebody who's party affiliated and only reports the stories that narratively
I want to see all of them.
That's the double-edged sword, because with Walter Cronkite, the way news was 50 years ago, 40 years ago, you were getting one, maybe two approved narratives.
And that's it.
Which isn't great, but at the same time, you were getting the full story all at once. With the way it is now, you go and you watch a single Fox episode.
You don't know if you got the whole story back then.
Well, you got what I mean is you got
faith that you believe that it was.
But what I mean is you got however true it was, you got a coherent narrative.
Right.
Now you turn on Fox to watch one episode of one of their shows, and every 5 minutes it's a new topic that's barely been researched. Which is just Twitter.
Because they're trying to catch up with Twitter.
And
which is yesterday, today's news. Yeah, I know.
If you're gonna give me that, at least don't make it news. Make it entertainment, because if you bill it as news, dumb people are gonna think that you're telling them the truth, not a story.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.